You think you know someone until they stab you in the back. My name's Emma Harper, and I'll never forget the day my boss, Olivia Grant, stood in our Seattle office, her voice dripping with venom. "Emma, your work is a liability," she said, her finger poised over the delete key. One click, and 2 years of my life, my heart, my hustle, vanished before the entire team. She thought she was torching useless files. She was wrong. Those files were the glue holding BrightWave Consulting together. And when my phone lit up with a game-changing offer minutes later, I realized her betrayal had just handed me the key to turn her world upside down. Stick with me, because this story isn't just about revenge. It's about what happens when trust collides with ambition. Hit that like button and subscribe, because you won't believe how this unfolds. Rewind 2 years. I landed at BrightWave Consulting, a strategic firm in Seattle's cutthroat business district, where coffee fuels dreams and competition never sleeps. BrightWave was bleeding clients, losing ground to flashier rivals with AI-driven pitches. My job, Client Relations Specialist, a fancy title for Stop the Exodus. The last person in my role had bailed after 8 months, leaving a mess of angry emails and dead-end accounts. I wasn't naive, I knew it'd be tough. But I believed in something bigger. Business isn't just data, it's people. Clients don't stay for slick reports. They stay because you see them, hear them, value them. From day one, I dug in. Our client logs were lifeless, transactional, robotic, like a chatbot wrote them. So I started small human things. When Nathan Brooks, a manufacturing CEO, mentioned his daughter's coding camp, I asked about it next call. His surprise turned into a 20-minute chat about her app project. When Sophia Reynolds, an eco-packaging founder, raved about Seattle's indie bookstores, I recommended a local gem. These weren't tactics, they were instincts, ways to show I cared beyond their invoices. It worked. Nathan opened up about his business goals. Sophia shared expansion plans. Slowly, I was rebuilding trust, one conversation at a time. But not everyone bought in. Olivia Grant, my manager, was a force brilliant, driven, but chained to numbers. She lived for efficiency, streamlined calls, optimized workflows, metrics that gleamed like her tailored suits. To her, my role was a cog, not a spark. She'd loom over my desk, her sigh heavy with judgment. "Emma, why are you noting clients' personal lives? We're not their therapists." Her words cut, but I held firm. Those notes weren't fluff. They were why Nathan renewed his contract, why Sophia stayed. Olivia didn't see it. She couldn't. Her world was dashboards and deadlines, and my approach longer calls. Detailed follow-ups was a threat to her control. I wasn't perfect. I'd stay late, chasing client emails, sometimes missing team deadlines. Olivia called me out. And honestly, she wasn't always wrong. Her focus on efficiency kept BrightWave lean, competitive. But where I saw people, she saw processes. That clash wasn't just professional, it was personal. She thought I was reckless. I thought she was blind. In Seattle's high-pressure consulting scene, where every client was a battle, our divide was a spark waiting to ignite. And when it did, it wouldn't just burn. It would reshape everything I thought I knew about loyalty, failure, and fighting for what's right. Seattle's buzz seeped into every corner of BrightWave Consulting, where ambition hung as thick as the morning fog. I'm Emma Harper, and when I joined as a client relations specialist, I wasn't just stepping into a job, I was diving into a battlefield. The firm was hemorrhaging clients. Each lost account a wound in our fight to stay relevant. My role was to stitch things back together, to keep businesses from jumping to rivals with shinier tech and bolder promises. The last person in my job had burned out in months, leaving a trail of unanswered emails and frayed trust. I wasn't wide-eyed. I knew it'd be a grind. But I believed one thing: people don't just buy services. They buy connection, and I was determined to prove it. I'm not perfect. I overthink, second guess, and sometimes let my passion for clients pull me away from team priorities. But I've always had a knack for remembering the little things: your favorite coffee shop, your kid's big moment. At BrightWave, that felt like a superpower. Our client files were sterile, robotic logs of invoices and deliverables. No soul, no spark. So, I started small. Nathan Brooks, a manufacturing CEO, mentioned his daughter's coding camp during a routine call. I jotted it down. Next time, I asked how her app was coming along. He lit up, stunned, I'd remembered. And we talked for half an hour about his business and her dreams. Sophia Reynolds, who ran an eco-packaging startup, loved Seattle's indie bookstores. I sent her a link to a local author event. She thanked me with a warmth that wasn't in our scripts. These weren't just chats, they were bridges, turning strangers into partners. It wasn't all smooth. My longer calls ate into Olivia Grant's precious metrics, and she noticed Olivia, my manager, was a paradox: razor-sharp but rigid. A woman who could predict market trends yet missed the human pulse. Her office was a fortress of data charts pinned to walls, timers ticking down tasks. She thrived on control. Her mantra: clear efficiency drives results. But efficiency, to her, meant stripping away anything personal. She'd hover by my desk, her voice low but cutting. "Emma, why are you wasting time on clients' kids? Focus on quotas." I'd explain Nathan's trust led to a contract extension. Sophia's warmth sparked a referral, but she'd wave it off. Numbers matter. Emma, not stories. Olivia wasn't a cartoon villain. She'd clawed her way up in a male-dominated industry, her obsession with metrics born from years of proving herself. I respected her drive, even admired it, but her blind spot was glaring. She saw my approach: longer calls, detailed notes, as defiance, not strategy. Once, I overheard her venting to a colleague. "Emma's talented, but she's reckless. She thinks feelings close deals." Her words stung, not just because they dismissed me, but because they dismissed what clients craved being seen. I wasn't reckless, but I wasn't flawless either. I'd miss internal deadlines, caught up in client follow-ups, giving Olivia ammo to call my work sloppy. She wasn't entirely wrong, and that gnawed at me. Still, my approach was working. Nathan emailed me directly now, bypassing the main line. Sophia praised our human touch at a Seattle networking event. Even Ethan Carter, a gruff retailer with a soft spot for craft beer, started confiding in me about his store's struggles. But every win came with a cost. Olivia's critiques grew sharper, her sighs louder. Team meetings became her stage. My call times flashed on screen as inefficient. Colleagues shifted awkwardly, caught between her authority and my results. Mia Larson, a sharp junior analyst, whispered support in the break room. "You're onto something. Emma, don't let her scare you." But fear wasn't the issue. It was the growing chasm between Olivia's world of numbers and mine of people. Seattle's consulting game was brutal: lose a client, and your blood in the water. Olivia's efficiency kept us lean, but my relationships kept us alive. We were two forces pulling BrightWave in opposite directions, and the tension was palpable. I could feel it in the office's quiet moments, in Olivia's clipped emails, in the way she watched me. This wasn't just about metrics or methods. It was about who got to define success. And that fight was about to spill over, setting a collision course neither of us could avoid. Seattle's pulse thrummed through BrightWave Consulting, where every deal felt like a high-stakes chess move. I was Emma Harper, the client relations specialist fighting to keep our firm afloat in a sea of flashier competitors. My weapon wasn't data or slick pitches, it was connection. I wasn't chasing metrics. I was chasing trust. And bit by bit, it was paying off. But every step forward came with a shadow Olivia Grant's growing resentment. Her belief that my work was a threat to her perfectly ordered world. I poured myself into clients, not because it was strategy, but because it was me. Nathan Brooks, the manufacturing CEO, became more than a contract. After I asked about his daughter's coding camp, he started sharing his company's dreams, expanding into new markets, hiring local talent. One call, stretched past Olivia's 10-minute limit, led to a $100,000 contract renewal. Sophia Reynolds, the eco-packaging founder, lit up when I sent her a bookstore event link. That small gesture turned into a $60,000 referral when she introduced us to a sustainability startup, Ethan Carter, the retailer with a love for craft beer. Trusted me enough to discuss his store's cash flow issues, our chats over Seattle's brewery scene. They sealed a $40,000 service upgrade. These weren't just wins. They were proof people stay when they feel human, not like line items. The numbers told the story Olivia refused to hear. In 18 months, I boosted client retention by 30%, not 40, not perfect, but real. We added $200,000 in revenue, contracts that would have slipped away without those pointless conversations she mocked. Clients noticed. Nathan mentioned me in a Puget Sound Business Journal blurb, calling BrightWave a partner, not a vendor. Sophia invited me to her company's Green Expo, where I networked with Seattle's eco-entrepreneurs. Ethan sent a 6-pack of local IPA with a note, forgetting it. Emma. I kept it on my desk, a quiet rebellion against Olivia's sterile metrics. But I wasn't flawless. My focus on clients meant missed internal reports, late replies to team emails. Olivia pounced on those slips, her feedback sharp. You're spread thin. Emma, prioritize the team, not just your pet projects. She had a point I wasn't balancing well, and it frustrated colleagues who relied on me. Still, the results were undeniable. During a quarterly review, Lucas Bennett, our CEO, paced the conference room, his voice bright. Our retention rates are climbing, he said, showing a slide with my clients' names. This human-first approach, it's working. Let's lean into it. My chest swelled. But when I glanced at Olivia, her face was a mask, her fingers tight around her pen. She didn't clap. She didn't speak. She just stared, her silence louder than Lucas's praise. Olivia's perspective wasn't baseless. She'd built her career on discipline, keeping BrightWave lean in a city where one bad quarter could sink you. My longer calls, my detailed notes, they messed with her system, made her look less in control. I saw her once, alone in her office, scrolling through my client logs with a frown. Was it jealousy, fear I couldn't tell? But her pushback grew. She'd interrupt my updates in meetings, her voice clipped. Emma, your call times are skewing our averages. Streamline. I'd counter those calls, saved Nathan's account, sparked Sophia's referral, but she'd shut me down. Metrics don't bend for anecdotes. Her words cut, not just for their sting, but because they ignored what was working. Mia Larson, the junior analyst, became my quiet ally. You're changing things. Emma, she said over coffee, her eyes earnest. Olivia's just stuck. Mia saw what Olivia couldn't. Clients weren't numbers, and loyalty wasn't a formula. But the office felt like a pressure cooker. My successes were real, but so were my missteps, missed deadlines, strained team dynamics, Olivia's frustration wasn't just personal, it was structural. Her world of efficiency clashed with my world of connection, and Seattle's ruthless market didn't care who was right. The tension was a live wire, sparking with every call I made, every note I wrote. Something had to give, and I could feel it coming, a moment that would test not just my work, but who I was. The Seattle rain streaked down BrightWave's office windows, mirroring the tension that had settled over my days. Every client call, every note I scribbled about Nathan's daughter or Sophia's bookstore finds felt like an act of defiance. I was Emma Harper, and my belief in human connection was paying off 30% higher retention, $200,000 in new revenue. But Olivia Grant, my manager, saw my work as a crack in her carefully built machine. Her disapproval wasn't subtle anymore. It was a blade, sharpened with every glance, every sigh, every pointed critique. Olivia was no caricature. She was formidable, a woman who'd fought tooth and nail to lead in Seattle's cutthroat consulting world. Her office, lined with framed awards and efficiency charts, told her story, a career built on precision, not warmth. She wasn't wrong to value discipline. BrightWave's lean budgets and tight margins depended on her ability to keep us competitive. But her obsession with metrics blinded her to what I was achieving. She'd stop by my desk, her tablet glowing with data, her voice low and edged. "Emma, your call times are bloating our averages. Cut the chatter." I'd push back. Carefully, Nathan's long call locked in a $100,000 deal. Sophia's trust brought referrals, but she'd dismiss me. Results don't justify inefficiency. Her words landed like stones, heavy with the weight of her authority. I wasn't blameless. My focus on clients sometimes left team tasks, hanging reports unsubmitted, emails unanswered. Olivia called it out in team huddles, projecting my metrics for all to see. "This isn't a hobby. Emma, we're running a business." Colleagues shifted in their seats, caught between her command and my quiet results. I'd apologize, adjust, but the truth gnawed at me. She wasn't just critiquing my work. She was trying to erase it. I saw it in her eyes, the way they lingered on my client notes with a mix of disdain and something else. Doubt, maybe. Olivia wasn't heartless. She'd mentored younger staff, stayed late to fix budgets, but my approach challenged her core belief. Numbers trumped all. Then came the audit. After Lucas praised our retention rates, Olivia summoned me to her office, her expression unreadable. "I need a full review of your client interactions," she said. "Every call, email, note, tied to outcomes, 18 months worth." Her tone was calm, but her intent was clear. This was punishment, a grueling task to pull me away from clients and bury me in paperwork. I felt a knot in my chest, frustration mixing with resolve. "Fine," I said, my voice steady. "I'll do it." I could have skimped. But that's not me. I dove in, nights blurring as I traced every interaction. Nathan's coding camp chats led to a contract. Sophia's bookstore talks sparked a referral. Ethan's beer rants built trust. The result was a 50-page report, not just data but a story how connection drove revenue. I handed it to Olivia, my pride outweighing my exhaustion. This was my case, undeniable. She flipped through it, her face blank. "Interesting," she said, setting it aside. "But it doesn't fix your metrics." I stood there, stunned. My work reduced to a footnote. It wasn't just dismissal. It was a warning she'd never value what I did. Mia Larson caught me in the break room, her voice soft. "That report was incredible. Emma, she's scared you're outshining her." Mia's support was a flicker of light, but the office felt darker. Olivia's presence a constant pressure. I wasn't perfect. I'd stretched myself thin, let team duties slip, but my results were real. Olivia's resistance wasn't about efficiency anymore. It was about control, about proving her way was the only way. In Seattle's high-stakes game, where one lost client could tip the scales, that need for control was a fuse, and my report had just lit it. The explosion was coming, and it would test everything I'd built. The conference room at BrightWave Consulting crackled with unease, Seattle's gray drizzle blurring the view beyond the glass. 25 colleagues sat stiffly, their laptops open, but all eyes were on Olivia Grant. She stood at the front, her tablet a shield, her voice clipped and commanding. "We're reviewing client relations today," she announced, her gaze locking onto me. "Emma's audit will be our focus." Emma Harper, felt a flicker of hope. My 50-page report, tying every personal note to $200,000 in revenue, was my proof that connection, not metrics, drove our success. I thought she'd finally see it. I was dead wrong. Olivia's lips curved, not in approval but in something sharper. "Emma, project your files." My hands shook as I connected my laptop, the screen filling with my work, every call with Nathan, every email to Sophia, every beer chat with Ethan. It wasn't just data, it was trust, woven through years of care. Olivia scrolled through, her voice cold. "This is what's dragging us down. Personal notes about kids' hobbies, bookstore visits, irrelevant details." She highlighted a line about Nathan's daughter's coding camp, her tone mocking. "This isn't consulting. It's a diary." My face burned, a flush creeping up my neck as colleagues shifted, some avoiding my gaze, others frozen. Mia Larson's pen froze mid-note, her eyes wide with disbelief. I opened my mouth, those notes saved accounts. Brought referrals, but Olivia cut me off. "Enough. Emma, we're here to set standards." She clicked through months of work, each page a stab. I wasn't perfect. I'd missed deadlines, strained team patience. But this was my heart, my proof, and she was shredding it. Then she went further. She opened the master database, every client interaction I'd built. Her cursor hovered over delete. "BrightWave thrives on discipline," she said, her voice ringing. "Not distractions. We end this now." One click, and it was gone. 50 pages, 2 years, the soul of our client trust. The screen blinked empty, the silence deafening, broken only by the hum of the projector. My chest tightened, my hands trembling. Olivia turned away, her posture smug, expecting me to shrink, to rebuild under her rules. She'd miscalculated. Those files weren't the relationships themselves. Nathan's loyalty, Sophia's warmth, Ethan's trust lived beyond any server. And someone else had noticed. My phone buzzed, insistent, the caller ID flashing Nexus Strategies. I stepped into the hallway, my pulse pounding, the room's weight falling away. "Emma, it's Rachel Morgan," the voice said, calm but firm. "We've seen your impact at BrightWave. Join us. 400,000 a year. Equity, full control over client strategy." My breath caught. 400,000, double my pay. A chance to build without Olivia's leash. "We don't need your data," Rachel said. "We need your gift for connection. Clients who trust you, they'll choose you." I stood there, the hallways quiet, wrapping me like a shield. Olivia thought she'd broken me. She hadn't. She'd freed me. Her click didn't just erase my work, it exposed her blindness, her fear of what she couldn't control. I wasn't blameless. I'd pushed boundaries, tested her patience. But this betrayal, it was hers, and it was about to cost her everything. I glanced back at the conference room. Olivia's silhouette still commanding the screen. She had no idea the fuse she'd lit, the one that would unravel BrightWave's fragile empire. I slipped my phone into my pocket, a new fire kindling inside me. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The hallway at BrightWave Consulting felt like a sanctuary. Seattle's muted hum filtering through the glass as I clutched my phone. Rachel Morgan's voice from Nexus Strategies was a lifeline, her offer still ringing in my ears. $400,000 a year. Emma. Equity. Freedom to build relationships your way. My heart raced. Olivia's betrayal, a single click erasing 2 years of my work still raw. Rachel's words were oxygen, pulling me from the wreckage. "We've watched you at BrightWave," she said. "You make clients feel human. That's what Nexus needs. If they follow you, that's their choice, not a contract breach." I swallowed hard, the weight of her trust grounding me. Olivia thought she'd crushed me. Instead, she'd unlocked a door I hadn't dared open. I wasn't a saint. I'd pushed Olivia's buttons, stretched her patience with my long calls and missed deadlines. But her public destruction of my audit 50 pages of proof that connection drove $200,000 in revenue wasn't discipline. It was desperation. Her fear of losing control dressed up as leadership. Rachel's offer wasn't just a job. It was a chance to prove my way worked, without her shadow. I told Rachel I'd sleep on it, but my mind was already made up. BrightWave was a cage, and I was done being clipped. I walked back to the conference room, the air thick with Olivia's lecture on optimized protocols. Her tablet glowed, her voice sharp, but her eyes flicked to me as I entered. Everything under control. "Emma," she asked, her tone laced with mockery. 25 colleagues watched, some curious, others uneasy. Mia Larson's gaze met mine, a silent nudge of support. Lucas Bennett, our CEO, sat quietly, his expression guarded. My hands steadied, my voice clear. "I have something to say. I'm leaving BrightWave. Effective immediately." The words landed like a thunderclap. The room pin-drop silent. I'm joining Nexus Strategies as Director of Client Relations. Olivia's tablet slipped an inch, her face a mask of shock. A low murmur rippled through the team, heads turning. "You can't just walk out," Olivia snapped, her voice cracking. "There are rules, notice periods, obligations." I held up my phone. Nexus's offer glowing. "My contract allows resignation in cases of a hostile work environment." Publicly erasing my work while shaming me. That's more than enough. Her eyes widened, a flicker of panic breaking through. Lucas stood, his tone measured. "Emma, let's talk this through privately." But I was done with backrooms and compromises. Olivia chose a public stage for her attack, so I'd meet her there. "No need." "Lucas," I said, gathering my notebook and water bottle. "My decision's final. Paperwork's coming today." The silence was electric, the projector's hum louder than my heartbeat. Olivia's face twisted, her voice shrill. "You're betting on a startup. Emma, Nexus has no track record. You're trading security for a pipe dream." I paused at the door, turning to face her. Her desperation was raw, almost human, a glimpse of the woman behind the metrics. "We'll see what clients choose," I said. "Trust over timers." I walked out, the conference room fading behind me. Seattle's skyline stretched ahead, vast and alive. Colleagues' eyes followed me, some stunned, some impressed. Mia's small smile lingered in my mind, a spark of solidarity. I wasn't perfect, I'd made mistakes. Ruffled feathers, but I'd built something real. Olivia's world of control was crumbling, and I didn't need to lift a finger. Nexus was waiting, a blank canvas for my vision. As I stepped into the elevator, a weight lifted, replaced by a fire. This wasn't just a new job. It was my chance to show the world what happens when you bet on people. Seattle's drizzle painted my office window at Nexus Strategies, a soft contrast to the fire in my veins. My new desk was cluttered with life notes on Nathan Brooks's latest venture. A thank you card from Sophia Reynolds. A craft beer Ethan Carter had dropped off. Nexus wasn't BrightWave's polished machine. It was raw, vibrant. A startup where Rachel Morgan and Caleb Shaw bet on people, not just profits. I dove in, building client strategies rooted in trust, not timers. But what unfolded next wasn't my plan. It was the slow, inevitable unraveling of Olivia Grant's world, a domino effect she'd triggered when she deleted my work in front of everyone. I didn't chase BrightWave's clients. I didn't have to. 5 days in, Nathan called. "Heard you're at Nexus." "Emma," he said, his voice steady, "let's talk about what you can do for us." We spent an hour on his expansion plans and his daughter's coding app. No scripts, no rush. He moved his $100,000 account to Nexus, not out of pity, but trust. Sophia followed, her voice warm. "You made my business feel alive." "Emma, if Nexus is your home, I'm listening." Her $60,000 contract came with her. Ethan was next, blunt as ever. "I'm sticking with someone who gets my vibe," he said, signing over $40,000 in services. They weren't just clients, they were people who chose connection over BrightWave's cold efficiency. By week's end, 5 major accounts, 30% of BrightWave's revenue had reached out. Not because I pitched, but because they felt seen. Then Mia Larson, my old colleague, texted me, "Emma, I can't stay at BrightWave. Olivia's killing us. Can I join you?" Mia wasn't a rebel, she was practical, sharp, but Olivia's new rules, all rigid scripts and timed calls, had crushed her spark. She brought a $30,000 client, a small but stinging loss for BrightWave. Over coffee, Mia spilled the chaos Olivia was floundering, her optimized protocols alienating everyone. Nathan had hung up on her mid-call, annoyed by her robotic tone. Sophia ghosted her emails. Ethan told her flat out he wanted a partner, not a calculator. Olivia's panic was palpable, her calls to clients growing desperate, her voice fraying in meetings. I wasn't blameless in BrightWave's mess. My long calls and missed deadlines had strained Olivia's system, given her reasons to doubt me. But her choice to erase my work wasn't about fixing that, it was about power, about proving her metrics ruled. She'd misjudged what held BrightWave together. It wasn't her dashboards, it was the trust I'd built, the kind that couldn't be deleted. When Olivia tried to salvage accounts, she leaned harder on efficiency, doubling down on what pushed clients away. It was like watching someone drown while clutching a sinking anchor. Her desperation peaked with a legal threat. A letter arrived, accusing me of improper client solicitation. My stomach churned, but Rachel laughed it off. "She's grasping. Emma, let her swing." The claim fell apart. Fast clients had chosen freely. No contracts breached. The stunt backfired, whispers of Olivia's overreach spreading through Seattle's consulting circles. BrightWave's wounds deepened. They lost a third of their revenue, laid off 20% of staff, and leased out half their office to cover costs. Olivia wasn't a monster, she'd kept BrightWave lean for years. Her discipline, a shield in a brutal market. But her blindness to human connection, her need to control, had cracked that shield wide open. I didn't gloat. My focus was Nexus, where every client call felt like a conversation, not a checklist. Mia settled in, her quiet grit a boost to our team. The clients who followed me weren't a tidal wave just enough to tip BrightWave's scales. Olivia's downfall wasn't my victory. It was her own doing. A lesson written in the choices she made. Seattle's skyline stretched before me, a reminder that success isn't about crushing others. It's about building something real, something that lasts. And I was just getting started. Seattle's skyline glowed through my Nexus Strategies window, a tapestry of steel and ambition softened by spring rain. I'm Emma Harper, and 6 months after leaving BrightWave, I was a senior partner, shaping a firm where trust, not metrics, drove every deal. Nathan Brooks, Sophia Reynolds, Ethan Carter, and 5 others followed me, their $200 in contracts fueling Nexus's rise. Not a flood, but enough to build something real. My desk held their stories: a photo from Sophia's expo, a beer from Ethan, notes on Nathan's daughter's app. This wasn't just work. It was proof that connection outlasts control. Olivia Grant's BrightWave crumbled, but not to dust. Losing 30% of its revenue forced layoffs, 20% of staff, and a downsized office. Olivia kept her job, but whispers said her influence waned. Her metrics, first mantra, questioned in boardrooms. She wasn't a villain. She'd held BrightWave steady for years, her discipline a lifeline in Seattle's ruthless market. But her refusal to see beyond numbers, erasing my work to prove a point, cost her more than clients. It cost her credibility. I didn't cheer her struggle. My win was building Nexus, where every client felt like a partner, not a data point. Here's what I've learned, and I hope it sticks with you. First, value people. A remembered detail, a kid's dream. A favorite book builds trust, no spreadsheet can. Second, own your flaws. I wasn't perfect. My missed deadlines fed Olivia's doubts. Admitting that made me stronger. Third, let choices speak. Revenge isn't plotting, it's letting others' mistakes catch up while you rise. If you've been underestimated, don't fight to prove them wrong. Build something better. Share your story below. Let's inspire each other to bet on connection. Hit like and subscribe, because success isn't about winning, it's about meaning.